89.3 and 88.5 Yes FM. Online at www.yeshome.com. Now on the free Yes FM iTunes app and the Yes FM Android app, or the free TuneIn Radio app. Search Yes FM Lima.
And joining me in the studio is he's desperately, I'm going to kibitz here a little bit, is he's desperately trying to get his headphones untangled. You got the one with the longest cord ever, and it's like all twisted up. That's all right. It's untangled enough for him to talk to us. Our good friend, Mr. David Yonke from ToledoFAVS.com.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good to see you again.
What another beautiful day in
Toledo.
Toledo.
My goodness.
The roads are like ice rink out there, so sort of.
You went down south to visit family a while back. Can I go? I'd love to meet your family. How about we go?
You know what's funny is I was in Florida. It was like the end of January, and we were in Tampa and Daytona. We went to a race there, and it was freezing. I mean, I was wearing my winter coat. I had, my gloves on and everything, and it was, it was in the 40s at night, and but the cold 40 in Florida for some reason. So yeah.
So it wasn't that much of a relief, actually.
Nah, but the one day, the nicest day was the day I was leaving.
That's always the case. Yeah, that's always the case. Yeah, it rains all week, and then the last day it's beautiful.
Well, like a friend of mine said, when you go visit your family, it's really not a vacation. I guess. I don't know. I had a good time.
Well, Toledo Faves. First of all, for folks who Dave's been in with us a number of times, comes in every month. But for folks who may be hearing it for the first time, don't know what Toledo Faves is, tell us about Toledo Faves.
Yeah, it's a website that covers the religion scene in Toledo. I do reporting just like I did for many years for the print media. Now I do it for an online website, and in addition, we have a lot of other stories written by local religious leaders and just people active in their religious groups. And I have about 40 people who write monthly or semi-monthly columns.
Biannually, some of us.
Including our host here, Mr. Briggs. And and in addition to that, we're affiliated with the Religion News Service, so we run stories by some of the top journalists covering, like we have David Gibson now reporting from the Vatican about all the things going on with Pope Francis and
there hasn't been much going on there, though. Really, the Vatican's been pretty quiet for the last couple of years. It's hardly any news comes out of there at all anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, who's the new Pope? I don't know.
Somebody resigned. Somebody can't. I don't know. It's just
yeah. So it's really a very full site. We've got lots of material, lots of stories. We've been online 18 months, and we've published more than 2,500 articles, all having to do with faith and values. And we look at religion as very broad. I mean, it covers movies and music, and
covers all religion. I mean, it's all Christianity, religion. Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, whatever. Anything that might have religious news gets covered.
Correct. And, we're journalists, the Religion News Service and myself, we report it. We don't take sides. We just report on what's going on, So something happens at the Supreme Court or something happens at a denominational headquarters or they change their policy or whatever, we'll report it straightforward, Then we have bloggers, and they're the ones that weigh in with their comments, whether it's good or bad. And it's a very engaged readership. People love to comment, and they comment on the comments and go round and round, So, and 99.9% of them are very civil. Yeah. So, the comments go live before I see them. So, it's kind of a risk involved. We got a trust factor, but I can always delete them later. But basically, the readers have been really good and very engaged, and I think it's a great asset. It's
kind of like what newspapers used to be, where you have your news section and then you have your commentary section.
Right.
And you get a blend of both.
Right. And, our goal is to educate people about things that involve faith and religion. So, we're not converting people to other religions, but you might not know anything about the Baha'i faith. We've got a writer that explains and talks about things from a Baha'i perspective, So same thing with Judaism, Islam, all the different faiths. Whatever. So it's a place to go where, you can learn and comment and read about things that maybe are out of your circle. And I think when you understand others and what your neighbors and your friends believe, I think it really helps build a sense of understanding and makes the community a little better place,
And, of course, there's never a lack for news either. That's the good part. Yeah, There's always something going on.
We update the site on average 5 times a day. We have about 5 news stories every day that go on there. So there's, that's a lot of religion news. I mean, most papers now have it ghettoized into one page a week or something like that. We see religion as vital, impacting our lives in many ways, and it just covers the spectrum. There's so much going on.
So what's up on the site right now?
Well, when we get a local story, I like to spotlight and put it at the top of the page and leave it there for the day. I don't know. I might change my philosophy and rotate it more, but I like to give our writers and our readers a good local story. Today's is by Jerry the Janitor, who has a real strong following here. He's Jerry Thompson. He was a janitor for 18 years at a church in Toledo, and he has a different perspective on things. And today he's writing about, if you want to have a happy marriage, then take ballroom dancing lessons. And it's a great column, and he talks about how learning to lead and to follow and to be a partner with somebody on the dance floor is a good metaphor for how to live your relationship.
Good.
You know? So, and I have a little fun whenever Jerry writes a column. I get his picture and I Photoshop it into the photo. So like it's kind of like a thing now. People want to see where Jerry is or how he's going to pop up in the next photo. So we've had him in ancient biblical times. Today we've got him in a tuxedo on a dance floor, so.
So Jerry the Janitor making his appearance.
Yeah. But, that's one of the, I wouldn't say it's a lighter story, but, we cover the heavy duty stuff too. So.
I know the big news today is the issue out in Arizona with this, the religious rights bill, and some calling it an anti-gay bill, and much misreporting going on over what this is, but I know it's been a lot of brouhaha over that, as the governor out there, Jane Brewer, has vetoed the bill.
Right. One of the things about our site that I really am proud of is that, we really get into the heart of the issue, the depths of the issue. We give you a lot more than what you get on, the headline news and things like that. So this, like you said, this bill has been misreported or misrepresented a lot in the media. And so, we don't actually have a story on that yet, but I know the Religion News Service will be covering it today. And, they will put in a good perspective, I believe. Yeah. Very fair.
Because it's, and I'll throw it out for our listeners since we're talking about it. It is, because you're going to hear it reported, this was an anti-gay bill that would have allowed, those bigoted Christians to, refuse service to any gay person anywhere for any reason at any time.
Right.
And that is not what the bill is. All the bill did, and it's a 2-page bill, by the way, and you can probably go on the Arizona state government website and find it. It's only a page and a half long, so it's not hard to read.
It's a little shorter than the Affordable Care Act.
The Affordable Care Act. That was the preamble. That was the title page on the Affordable Care Act. But all it said is in the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which was a national bill passed, signed into law by Bill Clinton, passed by overwhelming bipartisan majorities in Congress. So it was a very popular bill. In fact, Ted Kennedy was one of the champions of the bill. And all it said is the Religious Freedom Restoration Act basically said that if the government is going to burden someone's religion, they have to show a compelling interest to do so. Because kind of what had happened is, if you claimed that something was burdening your religion, you had to go in and prove the burden. That's kind of what had happened in the courts. And they wanted to correct that and say, no, because what you've done is you put the burden of proof on the defendant when, we know the burden of proof belongs to the prosecutor. And so they said, no, you don't have to show a burden to your religious rights. The government has to show a compelling interest in order to burden. So all it did was shift basically the burden of proof. So that's been national law for the last 15 years. Fairly uncontroversial. I mean, maybe a case here or two, but nobody's really up in arms about that. And so all the Arizona law did was say that the word persons, which is how they're identified in the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, the word persons in the state of Arizona constitutes not only individuals but businesses as well for the purposes of the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. That's it.
Wow.
That's all it said.
Yeah.
18 states, I'm reading here today, 18 other states have already passed similar laws. I believe, now I haven't done my homework on this, so I may be wrong, but I believe Ohio is one of those.
Wow.
And now, again, I haven't, I believe I heard that, but I could be wrong about that. So, I put that caveat out there.
Right.
So 18 other states have passed similar laws. And All this would do is it would not give you, it does not mean that if you're a religious business, you can deny service to anyone, anywhere, at any time. All it means is that if you deny service and that person says, well, I'm going to sue. So you're a Christian photographer and you say, I'm not going to photograph gay weddings because that's against my beliefs about what a proper wedding is and a marriage is. And so you deny that to a couple and that couple says, well, we're going to sue you. Well, they're still allowed to sue you. Right? Mm-hmm. The difference is when they get into court, instead of you having to prove the burden upon your religion, the state has to prove a compelling interest to force you to photograph that wedding. Mm. Now, they may do that. I mean, they may be able to go into court and the judge may say, you know what? I think the state has a compelling interest here. You cannot deny them that service. They may very well say that. It's not a guarantee that you'll be able to deny that service. It just shifts the burden of proof.
So it's not like a fundamental change in the law.
It doesn't change anything. It just, for clarification's sake, said, now, and that, by the way, that exists on an individual level for everyone in the country under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Mm-hmm. All they did in Arizona is say that includes businesses as well. Wow. But what you're getting reported is it was carte blanche for any religious person anywhere to deny anybody any service for any reason. Mm. And that's not what it says. Because the state can still come in and say, you know what, we have a compelling interest here. I understand you have religious belief, but the state has a compelling interest here to say you got to, you also have to be a part of our society as well. And so you can't just go nutso with that. Huh. So
interesting, yeah. So that's not what you're hearing on the
That's
headlines.
Not how it's being presented. Yeah. It's being presented as this is wildly anti-gay legislation, and it was just meant to persecute gay people and things like that. And that's not at all what it is. And so, but that's what the way it's being reported.
Well, that's definitely one of the biggest issues, or the biggest issue in our society today. We've got no shortage of religious groups that are battling over that, how to approach it. And it'd be interesting to see where we are in 10 years or 20 years from now. So,
There's a conflict of liberties there in our culture between, religious liberties, which are clearly protected and enshrined in the First Amendment, and then those who are saying, well, sexual liberty. I don't know what else to say it. Right. How else to say it? But we have, and I think that's more than a liberty. I mean, it's a worldview thing. I think the shift has happened. We held the sexual revolution if you're looking at it from a biblical standpoint, a biblical morality standpoint, we lost. We did. Yeah. We lost. The culture went and said, no, we were going to embrace a more liberal sexual ethic than what the Bible would endorse. And now that what we're finding ourselves is now as Christians, we're going to be in conflict with our culture with that, which, by the way, isn't the first time that's happened. Go look at the Roman Empire.
Yeah, really.
When Christianity emerged. Yeah. We've been down this road before. Yeah. And, and if we have to face some persecution for standing up for our beliefs, then, we've not had to do that a lot in our country, but it may be that we will, and we'll see how, the church responds to that.
Well, a lot of religious leaders tell me that they really want to stop fighting about that and let's talk about some other things. And it's true, that does kind of dominate the headlines. There's a lot of other things going on in the world, and in the religious communities. They're doing a lot of great things. And so,
it's the issue of the moment.
Yeah.
But the good thing about the media is, in 6 months they'll have another issue of the moment. So this too shall pass.
I did a story this week that's kind of interesting. Do you know Judge Andy Devine? Have you heard of him?
I've heard of the name.
He's 92 years old, and he's written a little book about parents from the perspective of a juvenile court judge. And years ago, Judge Devine came to me and told me that he was really kind of trying to promote parents and help parents. And I thought, well, who isn't? I mean, it seemed like a non-issue to me. But then after I got to know him and hear what he's doing, and he's basically, I wrote a story about it. It's in the Free Press. It should be in the Free Press this week, and I'll put it on my website probably tomorrow. But the point is that as a court judge and as a community, we always try to help the child. We don't try to help the parent. And that he said God gave us the perfect plan, mom, dad, child, and that the mom and dad need the resources and the support to raise that child. So he found through experience that if he worked with a child and did everything he could to help the child, sent him away to a residential treatment program for 2 years and paid a couple $100,000 and brought him back, and they're declared perfectly perfectly fine, and then he puts them back in that dysfunctional home. They're back in court in 6 months with the same problem that they went in the first place. So he said you have to change the parents and help the parents, and that's God's plan, and that's the plan that we need to focus on. He said it's everything right now is just centered on the child, and they feel like they can't do anything with the parents. It's easier to work with the child. So he's trying to kind of cause a paradigm shift in the way society deals with juvenile delinquents and just societal problems.
That's pretty interesting. We're talking with Dave Yonke from ToledoFAVS.com. So that is, because you don't think about that perspective from an outsider just looking in.
Right.
You know, to have a judge there saying, you know,
yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, what he says, you're like, yeah, that's one of those things. Like, why did I think of that?
Yeah, and it seems so like obvious that this should be the way it is, but it isn't the way it is, and it needs to change. So, I hope his book helped. I mean, they're talking about doing a class at Lloyd's University based on his book, and
cool.
Trying to kind of gain some grassroots momentum to change it. So
that's cool.
I did a story on the third day Skillet concert, and the promoter, by the way, he needs some volunteers to get in free tonight to sell merchandise. About 6 people. You get a free Skillet shirt. You got to be there at 5 o'clock. You can see some of the show, rotate with the other volunteers. So if anybody's interested, maybe they can email me or... What do you think? You don't want to
if you want to email you, because I don't know anything about it. So if you want to give folks your email and have them contact you.
Yeah, because, they still need them. And this was, my email is david.yonke, that's YONKE, at religionnews.com. So david.yonke at religionnews.com. If you want to do a little work at the concert and get to hear Skillet, Third Day, some of the opening bands, let me know.
Yeah, that's going to be a great show tonight.
Oh, fantastic lineup,
By the way, I want to remind people they have moved up the start time for that concert to 6:30. It was previously at 7. It is now 6:30. It's the concert start. Doors open at 5:30. Okay. So just to let people know. People showed up half hour late going, what's going on?
They have to put some extra padding in the roof so that the roof doesn't fall apart with all that.
And it's cool. Skillet got a write-up not long ago in the New York Times.
Oh, yeah.
They did a big article. It wasn't even just like a little couple paragraphs. They did a really big article on them. Just talking about how they're one of the biggest bands in America, but unknown because they're in the Christian market. They don't get the coverage.
I did an interview with Scott Stapp this week, too. And I'm going to be writing that next week. And, he said Christian bands are discriminated against in the secular media. He said So anyway, the Skillet is doing well despite all the bias against Christian bands.
Yeah, and so I'll be interested to read your article with Scott Stapp, too.
Fantastic. I mean, it was great. He is so on fire for God. I mean, the guy was the highest high in life, and then he hit the lowest lows, almost died, drug addict, all that. Now he's God saved him. He's his life's turned around. And he's a guy who's a unique perspective because he's been on both sides of that issue. Yeah. He knows what it is to be successful in the secular market, and now he's more Christian, and I guess he's kind of both. I don't know. He's crossover, I guess. Yeah, I mean, he's marketing himself in the mainstream, music, but he's definitely a hard, really on fire and writing a lot. His lyrics have a lot of references to God. Yeah, you can definitely see it in his lyrics. And he can rock. Yeah, and he's still good. Yeah, he's still good. Yeah, very cool. So what else you got coming up with Toledo Faves? Well, we have a coffee talk on March 15th at Big B's at Cricket West, 10 o'clock in the morning on that Saturday. And Dr. Linda Smith from the University of Toledo, now retired, is going to talk about death and dying. And she has done a lot of research. It's an area she really specializes in, life after death, the experiences people have reported when they come back, and also she is a licensed counselor and works with hospice and groups like that to work with their counselors on how to deal with people that are dying. So it's kind of an interesting topic, and we're trying to do what we're going to be doing one a month from now on. We're going to try and make it a topic of interest, So I think that'll be good. March 15th, 10 o'clock, Big B's Coffee. And we'd love to see people in person be part of Toledo Faves. Very cool. Yeah. Great opportunity. And, of course, check it out, ToledoFaves.com, and all kinds of cool stuff there. I even occasionally will throw up a blog every once in a while. We can't wait for the next one. It's coming eventually. I got this baby coming. It's kind of crowding me out here. Oh, priorities, yeah. There you go. I'm sure it'll inspire a column somewhere. Some night when I'm up at 2 in the morning because they're crying and keeping me awake, I'll write something out. Should I mention one of the big stories I did this week was the the relationship between WLMB and YesFM.
Well, we can talk about it, because we should talk about that, because we've not really mentioned it much on the morning show. It just came down. But if you checked our website, we are... I don't know how to describe it. But
a subsidiary.
A subsidiary. We're becoming a subsidiary of WLMB. Todd Hostetler, who's been our station manager for
18 years.
18 years. Good grief. He is going to be leaving us in June, and he's pastoring. He's started a church last year, and he's going to be pastoring full time. So he's leaving on the best of terms, and we're all quite sad to see him go. But Jamie Schmitz, who runs WLMB, will now be coming over, and he'll be running both. He'll be station managing here and continuing his duties at WLMB, and will be coming under their authority. Let me just say to all the listeners, we are still going to be YesFM.
Right.
We're not changing. Right. We're not going to become, like another radio station you hear in the area. We're not going to change our format. We're not going adult contemporary. Mm-hmm. They are committed to keeping YesFM, and we're still going to program the same, and everything will sound the same.
Right.
It's just internal changes.
Right. And Jamie is, he's a good businessman. He's done a really great job with LMB.
Yeah.
And, he's got a heart for ministry, and I know that, he says, yes, it's going to stay youth-oriented, and so it's not going to be a programming change, just a change of kind of structure and background stuff. And
I think he brings some unique things. Every leader has their own strengths and weaknesses. Todd certainly had many great strengths and brought many wonderful things to YesFM. Jamie's going to bring a little bit different dynamic. He's got a different skill set than Todd.
Right.
But I think that could be good and maybe help us to do some things in the future that we may not have been able to do in the past, because he knows how to get those resources.
Yeah.
He's really good at that. And so
that's good. I was wondering if maybe they'll have a live broadcast of the studio in the morning. You know how some radio shows are on TV. They could have channel 40.1.
People don't need to see me in the morning. Believe me, nobody needs to see that.
Yeah,
really. Rolling out of bed without taking a shower with a ball cap on.
That'll be part of the attraction. Let's see how bedraggled Tommy looks today.
How early did he get up? Did he get up in time to get a shower, or did he just roll out of bed and run right in? Oh my goodness, yes. That nobody needs that.
You might have to start wearing your tie to work.
Oh my God, yeah, I'm putting makeup on so I look my best. No, we don't need that.
No, but anyway, there are all kinds of possibilities, and I'm excited to see what Jamie will be doing here, and I wish Todd all the best, because I know he's got a pastor's heart. Mm-hmm. His church is called City on a Hill Teaching Center. It meets at Levis Commons, and hope it really, I'm sure it'll grow as he gets to spend more time working with that ministry. Yeah.
So you're going to be doing an article on that coming up? Is it up yet?
I did one, but I'll be doing a follow-up, because basically it was just kind of, here's the basics. What happened.
The press release came out, I think, Monday.
Yeah, and I want to sit down and talk to the principals and get more depth about.
I'll give you the anonymous sources set.
There we go.
I'll give you the radical quotes. We'll talk later. Off the record.
Carmen 24/7.
Carmen 24/7. Yeah. That's what I heard. I just don't know. David Yonke joined us, ToledoFaves.com. Dave, thanks so much for being in this morning.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yes.